week 14 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. The first hitter, Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. So Matt Olson, it's definitely been a down year for Olson, and even this Brave team as a whole. I know they're dealing with injuries with Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna, two top players out for this team. But Matt Olson, after coming off of 54 home runs last season, he's not even going to come close to that number on the season. 12 home runs, 41 RBIs, 37 runs scored, a 242 average, and a 320 on base. But over the last couple weeks for Olson, only 1 home run, 3 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a 152 average, and a 204 on base. So he's struggling mightily. The power isn't there. His batting average is down 40 points from last season. But Matt Olson, it just takes a couple games for him to get going. We saw with Austin Riley, his teammate. He was doing nothing the first 2 months of the season, and now he's really turned things around the last few weeks. And I think the same could happen with Olson. June 28th versus Pittsburgh, 2 for 4 in RBI. June 29th versus Pittsburgh, 0 for 4. June 30th versus the Pirates, 1 for 3. And July 2nd versus the Giants, 0 for 3. So he hasn't done much over the last couple weeks. But Olson, he's definitely due. I don't think in one season he's going to drop from 54 home runs all the way to, let's say, 25, 30 home runs. That's a big drop off in one season. I know Ronald Acuna out for the season definitely takes away some of the pitches from Matt Olson, but still, he's been a big-time power hitter, 30 to 40 home runs every season. But right now, he's struggling mightily and the power's way down, he's definitely a buy low hitter because, like I said, if he gets hot, he could carry a fantasy team for weeks to even months. Next hitter is his teammate Ozzie Albies of the Atlanta Braves on the season. 6 home runs, 39 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, 39 runs scored, a 254 average, and a 312 on base. But over the last couple weeks for Albies, we really haven't seen much. 1 home run, 6 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 5 runs scored, a 224 average, and a 283 on base. Albies last season had a monster year, 33 and 109. And the problem is both home runs and RBIs are down for Albies in a big way this season here. But he's another hitter. Once he gets going, he could take off and put up huge numbers on weeks and months on end. So right now, this Brave team, I know it's been a totally different type of year for them from last season after Ronald Acuna was in the 40-60 club with the 40-plus home runs and the 60-plus stolen bases, where it's a monster piece out of their lineup, obviously, where it's affecting guys like Olson and Albies. But these are professional hitters. These are all-star hitters throughout their major league career. And I just believe this Brave team, they're going to break out sooner than later offensively. June 28th versus Pittsburgh, 2 for 5 a run. June 29th versus Pittsburgh, 1 for 3. June 30th versus the Pirates, 1 for 4. And July 2nd versus the Giants, 1 for 4 with an RBI and a stolen base. So like I said, this Brave team, once things start clicking and they get going here, these players can help you in a big way. So right now, while their value is way down and they're having bad seasons, they're perfect buy low candidates because, like I said, they could help fantasy own a big way. And if you could get them on a discount for top first round, second, third round guys like Albies and Olson, where they were going coming into the season, these are the deals to make. The next hitter is Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's been on the list a decent amount of times to buy this season. And Goldschmidt, his numbers are totally way down. On the year, 11 home runs, 33 RBIs, 40 runs scored, 4 stolen bases, a 225 average, and a 294 on base. So Goldschmidt, his batting average has dropped significantly over the last season here, where last year at least he hit 268, even though that was a drop from him, where he was pretty much a 285 to 300 hitter range every season was Goldschmidt. But like I said, Father Time catches up to the best of them, and right now he's definitely not the top tier player like he was Goldschmidt, but I still think he can help fantasy owners. And right now, he struggled this season. He's definitely a hitter to go out there and get, and he's still on pace for about 25 home runs on the year. So Goldschmidt, the last few games, June 28th versus Cincinnati, 0 for 4. June 29th versus the Reds, 1 for 4, a homer and RBI. June 30th versus the Reds, 0 for 4. And July 2nd in Pittsburgh, 2 for 5 with a run. So Goldschmidt, batting average is way down. Power numbers not all that great, 11 home runs, even though I still believe he could finish with about 25 home runs like he did last season. But that average, he's going to get it up, I believe, is Goldschmidt. He's a professional hitter. I know he's striking out more, and the fastball he can't catch up to as much, but he's still a guy that's going to figure it out. And I think when it's all said and done this season, he's still going to have productive numbers. So right now, he struggled the first 2 months of the season for the most part. Here's Goldschmidt, and we've seen some flashes here and there when he got on a little bit of a hot streak. He's a buy low hitter this week because he's another guy like Albies and Olsen, where I think if he could get things going, he could help your team in a big way. The next hit is Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners. So Julio Rodriguez, he was on the list last week, and once again, he's on it this week. And we saw this last season where he got off to a super slow start, and then after the All-Star break, he was an MVP candidate. So on the season for Rodriguez, 7 home runs, 29 RBIs, 17 stolen bases, 37 runs scored, a 247 average, and a 297 on base. So the problem with Rodriguez, I think he's swinging for the fences way too much. We know he's got one of the hardest swings in all Major League Baseball, and that's definitely doing him in. And over the last 2 weeks, he's pretty much been non-existent. No home runs, no RBIs, a run, a stolen base, a 111 average, and a 149 on base. And to dig deeper, even the last month, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, a 184 average, a 252 on base, and 3 stolen bases. So right now, he's way below the Mendoza line. Over the last couple weeks, he is Julio Rodriguez. But like I said, we saw a similar type of play in the first half last season, and then the second half he took off, and like I said, was an MVP candidate. So the only thing he's got going for him right now, Rodriguez, is the stolen bases, where I think he'll end up with 30-plus bags on the year. But the power's way down. Where last season he had 32 home runs, only 7. And last year he cracked 100 RBIs, where he had 103, and this year only 29. So his numbers are way down, Rodriguez, after being in the 30-30 club last season with over 100 RBIs. June 26th at Tampa, 0 for 3 run. June 28th versus Minnesota, 1 for 5. June 29th versus the Twins, 0 for 4. June 30th versus the Twins, 1 for 5 in that one. And July 2nd versus the O's, 0 for 3. So he's struggling mightily right now. Is Julio Rodriguez. He even got dropped 7th in the lineup in last night's ball game versus the Baltimore Orioles. But like I said, Rodriguez, he's too talented of a hitter. I know he got the big contract, but I don't think in one season, and a guy who's not even entered his prime yet, he's just going to drop off. So right now, the Rodriguez owners, they're definitely frustrated where they used the first, maybe a second-round pick on him in fantasy leagues, where he's producing numbers where you could pick up a guy off the wire who's putting up better numbers than Rodriguez. So right now, he's a buy low candidate because, like I said, we saw last season after the All-Star break where Rodriguez woke up, and I believe he could get going once again. I'm not saying he's going to get to the numbers where he did last year, but still, I think he could finish the season in 22 home run, 25 range, and drive in about 75, 80 runs. So that would be a big improvement compared to where he is now. And the final hitter I look to buy and trade for is Corbin Carroll of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's in a similar boat here as Carroll this season, like a Rodriguez. Home run numbers way down, RBI numbers way down, stolen bases are down. He stole 54 last season, only 14 this year. So 2 home runs, 23 RBIs, 14 stolen bases, 47 runs scored, a 213 average, and a 305 on base percentage is still great. Almost 90 points higher than the batting average, but his average is way down this season. Home runs way down, only 2 home runs, which is hard to believe. I know Carroll's a smaller guy, but last season he had 25 home runs. Definitely, maybe it was a fluke last year, and the league caught up to him already, is Carroll. So over the last couple weeks, no home runs, 1 RBI, 2 stolen bases, 6 runs scored, a 216 average, and a 326 on base. Right now, he really hasn't done much here as Carroll, but like I said, he's still drawing his walks. He's still finding ways to get on base, and he still has the stolen bases. So if he could just be above average in the second half, Carroll, I think he could help fantasy owners because it's definitely frustrating. Another player that was drafted first, second round coming into the year, most fantasy drafts, and he's one of the biggest busts we've seen in a long time, him and Julio Rodriguez in the first half of the season. June 28th versus Oakland, 1 for 3 a run. June 29th versus Oakland, 0 for 1. June 30th versus Oakland, 1 for 4 with a run. And July 2nd at the Dodgers in that one, he went 1 for 4 in that game. So right now, Corbin Carroll, he's struggling mightily, no doubt about it. But I believe you could get him very cheap, and he still has upside in stealing bases, scoring runs, and on-base percentage. So at least right now, he's a little bit ahead of Julio Rodriguez, I believe, where he gives you a few more categories, Carroll, than Rodriguez. But like I said, you could get these guys virtually for a back-end rotation pitcher right now. That's how bad they've been, and they were first-round picks for a reason. I don't think in one season they're just going to lose it, or both had fluky seasons. So right now, Rodriguez and Carroll, definitely hitters on the cheap you could get. That's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for Week 14 of the fantasy baseball season.